Nacho average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Nacho Average Tabletop. I'm Zach,
And I'm Pepper.
and today, what are we going to be talking about?
We are going to be talking about the third annual Nacho Average board game tournament.
Yes, we are. And we might not want to get to spoilers right away about who won, but I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler that it was a past champion that won.
And the two past champions are us.
So we'll see who was.
And no, it's not a tournament of two.
You might think it is, but it is not. And
It's going to come across very braggy.
It is. But it's supposed to be humble. Humble brag. No. So
what's the history of this tournament?
So the history of it is, we started it 2 years ago.
Yes.
Just based on, I just wanted to get together with friends and close friends and family and just play games for a day. Kind of play some games that were on the shorter end. Typically, games that could be played under an hour, or possibly even shorter if that's possible. And just get as many in as possible and kind of just give points based on placing and whatnot, and have lunch and dinner and whatnot, have those provided as well. And then, just crown a winner or champion at the end. And the way that I came up with that, along with kind of the whole channel name, is I was at the gym with Michaela, and I was wearing a shirt she had got me that said Nacho Man, and that was so I'd made a Facebook group for this tournament, and that was apparently the only picture she had of me, so it became the Nacho Average board game tournament. So then we had, I think, 8 people the first year,
Yep.
And then last year for COVID we had 7 people. It's most of the same people, with a couple people going in and out. And then this year we had 9 people.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just hovering around an 8-person average, which with the different amounts of people, it's kind of can play different games based on that. Because usually we split into groups. It's not all big games where everyone's playing at once, but there are some of those as well.
Yeah.
So, anything else you'd like to add to the history of it?
No, not really.
But yeah, you won the first ever one.
I won the first one. I had a great comeback. I know I didn't do that great early on in the day. I kind of went down to the lower table. The chumps, as you would call them.
I'm pretty sure that was a term termed by someone else.
But no, I kind of went down in there. I was able to win some games in the middle of the day, get back up to the champions table, and was able to pretty much win out and sneak that trophy out from under you guys.
Mm-hmm.
A great day. Inaugural champion.
Okay. No bragging at all there, but yeah. So you ended up winning.
It was fun.
But yeah, that one, it ended up being very close, and it was closer than I expected. I had no idea with the point system and what kind of if there'd be just a runaway leader. And
it's like, is this going to work at all?
Right. So it was kind of all a test, but it ended up very, very close, and it was all determined by the last game, I think. So that was about as well as expected. And then
that one was over in Michaela's parents' house, and we hosted that, and then you guys got this house, and
specifically for the tournament.
Yes, specifically. I do remember when you were looking at houses, you're like, okay, where's a good board game area? And this one had this great basement here for that, so I think that sealed the deal.
Yeah,
but
sure.
So we've hosted it here ever since.
Yeah, so then the second year I was able to eke out the win as well, and I think it was a little bit of a comeback. I don't remember if it was as grand as your comeback, but I think that one too was right down to the last game or so as well.
Yeah.
And this year it was So those years we didn't really have a theme or anything. It was just kind of games that a lot of us had played, most of them. This year,
as you can see,
we changed it up a little bit.
Dice, Dice, Baby.
Yes. So we had a little bit of a theme. All games had to be somewhat dice-driven, at least, have dice in them. And I think we had a pretty good list of games.
We did. I do. I just happen to have the list of games.
Wow, he doesn't even remember what the games were.
Oh, I remember. I won like every one. Okay, I did not. We started off the day we split it into 3 groups. So we had 9 people, so 3 groups of 3. We're playing 3 different games in our first batch of the day, which was Sushi Roll, Era, Medieval Age, and Stone Age.
Which, just based on the games we had available, these are kind of what ended up working together. Looking back at it, the timing, the length of games, could have tried to get them a little bit closer. Because, definitely they were not.
Yeah, I played Sushi, and I think that one's like pretty a determined time limit with the 3 rounds.
Very short.
And
quick.
Yeah, and we finished that, and I think the other 2 groups still had like maybe
a half hour plus.
Yeah, left to play.
Yeah.
But it gave, because I hadn't ever played Era before, so it gave me an opportunity to watch that being played and learn that.
Yeah, I think your group, I don't think anyone had played Era, so luckily you guys were able to kind of watch a little bit.
Yeah. And I think, a lot of people had at least 2 or 3 games that they hadn't played, and some didn't know any. Like one, your Taylor brought a friend who hadn't played any of them, you said?
Yeah, I don't think he'd played any of them, and I believe he'd maybe played like Catan, but outside of that, I don't know that he'd played any other of the more modern board games. He played a lot of like the older classic ones.
But so that probably went into the picking of games and ones that would be approachable to new players.
Yeah, and so then that kind of by the time we got done with those 3 games, it was because we started at around 9:30 in the morning. And I don't think we got done with those games until around 2-ish. And we had all snuck lunch in there, so kind of, I think once we got done, so when the second group got done with Sushi Roll, they ate, and I think you guys played Era second, and your game of it went a little bit faster because you kind of triggered the end quicker than our group.
Yes,
so we were in Stone Age for a little longer.
We watched that, and you guys knew the game, Era. And it was like, oh, wow.
Well, Blake didn't.
Okay. But like 2 of you knew it. So I was like, okay. I thought that would be a good judge on how long it's going to take. And that was like maybe 1.5, maybe 2 times as long as Sushi Roll went. I'm like, okay, so it's going to be a little longer game. But then we played it, and it was just, it went by so quickly. And I was like, wow. These noobs played it in half the time.
Yeah, that one ended up being, it's one of those where it's triggered by based kind of on how you guys are all playing. If you guys kind of are all going for different buildings, because the game end triggers when 3 different building types are completely out. So if everyone's kind of going for totally different buildings, we had kind of gotten it down to like 1 or 2 buildings of each type left.
Yeah, and I kind of rushed like 2 of the types of buildings, the hospitals and the whatever.
Lumber mills, probably.
Lumber mills, yeah.
So, that one could vary in length. So, I think that one would have maybe, I mean, if we hadn't kind of gone on so long, I think that one would have been a similar length to Sushi Roll, maybe a little bit longer.
Probably.
But then Stone Age was probably the one that was a bit longer, especially for anyone who hadn't played it before.
Yeah, for sure.
Just because there's a little bit more to it, and how understanding how the scoring works and stuff takes a little longer. But it was about, I feel like it was like 2 o'clock, 2:30 by the time we got done.
So that'd be like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
After like one of what we had, like 3 batches of games.
Right. So we had like 10 games planned, and so that was 3 of them.
Yes.
So I think people were getting a little worried that I had said, yes, there are 7 more games left to play. But I'm like, trust me, some of these are going to be way faster.
And then between...
Most of them were.
Yes, most of them were. And one was most of the time. But then kind of after those, we we kind of broke up the groups of games by playing everyone 9-player game of Tumbling Dice.
Yes.
Which was at least my first time playing
well.
that.
And I'm guessing outside of Taylor, it was probably everyone's first time playing it. I don't know. I don't think anyone else had. And we used we had seen it on one of the Dice Tower Spectaculars. I think they had ended it with Tumbling Dice, where they had different types of dice. And I just thought that was really fun, or looked really fun and really cool, that they had used those different ones.
Like, D20, D10, D12.
And luckily, my brother and sister-in-law had like a ton of different sets, because they both play D&D, so they had a bunch of sets that we could use for this. They were there as well. But yeah, that was... Yeah, and I don't think Taylor had played it that way before. I think he had just played it
with D6s.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how that version works. I think he said it was like 3 rounds of D6, 4 D6s. But I think I liked. I haven't played it the other way, but I think I would have liked the way we did it a little bit better. And it was also extremely quick.
It was. It's a great pace, and just everyone kind of walking around the table, throwing their die, go on to the next, to the next, to the next. It's a great pacing to the game.
Right.
A lot of fun.
Right, and I think because I didn't have the list up this year, but I think that there was a couple people that were disappointed when they thought we were only playing it once. But I'd kind of put this in there that we would play it to split up another set of games as well.
It's kind of a second round of it, yeah.
Yeah, so because I figured that would be one of the funner ones, and I think if I had to guess, I think that was probably one of the favorites out of all the games, I would think.
Yeah, I would
think so. At least close.
Yeah.
For sure. And then, so yeah, we played that the first time, and then we got into 2 other games.
We got into 2 other ones. That was Camel Up and Dungeon Academy.
Which were 2 more that I was hoping would be pretty quick.
Because one is a timed game, which is 4 rounds, and depending on what difficulty, I think we played on.
We played easy, so it was a minute.
A minute. So 4 1-minute rounds, which
plus some stuff.
Some in between where you can score your points and get some
so probably
items.
15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, a very quick game.
And Camel Up, which is a little dependent on how the dice come up, can be extremely quick, or can take a little bit longer, but still not.
Yeah, I mean, there's still long. The camels would still move.
Yeah, but I've definitely figured those 2 compared to like our set of first 3 games, we're gonna go a lot faster.
Yeah, they definitely did. But yeah, both good games. It was my first time playing Dungeon Academy. I had a good time with that one. It wasn't hard to grasp or get into. And yeah, Camel Up was still a quick, snappy game.
Yeah, and led to some somewhat memorable ending.
Yes.
But yes, then we got done with those 2.
Went on to another round of Tumbling Dice.
Yes. Because for that we had split into a group of 4 and a group of 5. So that's kind of what we did for the rest of the time. We did that, and then big group games.
Yeah.
We split into 4s and 5s
so,
with the games that could play 5.
Yeah. So like the top 4 in the standings at that point would be in one group, and the bottom 5 would be in another group. So yeah, then we played another round of Tumbling Dice. Then we went on to our next 2 games, which were Space and Sagrada. Sagrada, yes.
Which, let me think. I'm trying to think which ones were the most unplayed by most people. So I think Tumbling Dice was played by the least amount prior to, and then maybe Railroad Inc., and then, we'll get to that one. But then I think Dungeon Academy. And maybe Sagrada. I can't remember. But, yes, so Sagrada and Space. So I thought these 2 would be... I mean, this was supposed to be kind of the main event. We reshuffled into 4 and 5, which I think was still the same 4 and 5 people. It hadn't changed, but I think Blake had kind of moved up a bit when he was in the other group. He was just slightly under the cutoff, and we were actually trying to determine which group he should be in, and asked him.
He chose to
stay
on there because he was doing good. He was winning. I think he won.
I think he said he won both those 2 previous games. So, yeah, and then which I was shocked at how good he was playing
'cause,
for never playing any of the games before. But yeah, and then I'm like, okay, Sagrada and Space Base, Space Base has a time cutoff pretty much because once someone gets 40 points, you're good. And usually in Space Base, it's kind of like it takes a little bit and then it like shoots up quick at the end.
Like, it seems like you'll get to a point and it's like, I only have like maybe 10 points or something. How is this ever going to end? But then you just kind of get your engine actually going and clicking, and then it just ramps up and you're getting maybe 4 points, 10 points a turn if you're lucky. And yeah, you can just end the game like that.
Right. And then Sagrada, on the other hand, was also limited by 10 rounds, and you're just adding, drafting 2 dice a time, going around the table, going back and forth in a snake draft.
I think could be shorter, definitely in 2-player games, but with 4 or 5 players, drafting all those dice, it does take a little longer. So I think those are a good pairing, or should have been.
Yeah, I thought the timing on those would be pretty close. Maybe not exactly even. I wasn't sure like which one would take longer, because definitely sometimes in Space things happen that just make a game go a little bit faster. It seems like, whereas Sagrada's kind of it's not like the game's going to go way faster. It's still limited by drafting the dice that you want. And sometimes it's obviously easier if you rolled some good stuff. That's exactly the thing I wanted for this spot. Okay, it makes it easy to draft it, but sometimes they're not as good, or you're still trying to determine what's the best thing to take at this time. So I would say that one, the timing is probably pretty similar from game to game. Based on the number of players. But then, so I think we played Space Base first.
So we played Space Base first.
The top table.
Yes.
And it was already crazy.
It was crazy. Because I think Zachary, your brother-in-law, had kind of gone in and built his number 7 spot, thinking like, hey, usually between 2 dice, 7 is the most common number, even though in Space Base you can take the split amount. But he thought that would be a pretty good idea to build that up. And what did we roll? Like 1-7 whole game.
I think it was 1-7 the whole game.
And I and Taylor had decided to kind of build up our 11s and 12s, and we rolled like freaking 5 to 7 11s in the game.
Right. And they were getting mega points the whole time. And I had luckily put a 0.1 on my 6. So at least when you were hitting all those 11s, I was getting 2 points. So I was kind of keeping up, but you guys were getting way more points than I was.
I had like a 6-pointer on my 11.
I think Taylor had something similar.
Yeah. And then it kind of got near the end, and I'm like, okay, because I had planned to swap my 11 and 2 sectors to make it a lot more likely, but it was getting near the end of the game. I wasn't able to get that, so I just decided to deploy my 11 spot kind of in one of the last rounds and hoping you guys would roll it. And get me some of my points that way. And then I believe in the final round, you rolled, or one of you rolled an 11.
Yeah, I think it must have been Taylor.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't you. Because, you rolled whatever.
Yeah, I rolled something that did not help me.
Yeah.
And I knew it was going to be the last round.
Because, you rolled, like, the worst thing you could have rolled. I don't know what you had open, but you hit those.
It was like just...
You swung and missed.
Yeah, it was like the worst combo that I could have gotten with what I had out there. I don't remember what it was, but it was not good for me.
Yeah. And then Taylor rolled an 11, helped him a lot. And since I deployed my point card on my 11, that got me like 4 points. And he had gotten just over 40 points, so he was going to trigger it. And I was a little behind him, but I was like, okay, good. Just rolling another 11 now. I just got 4, made up some room. And then Zachary... He rolls an 11. I get 4 more points. I'm around 40, or a little below 40 now. And I'm like, well, so I have the last turn of the game, and the only point card that I have out there is my 12. So I'm like, okay, wouldn't it be great if I rolled a 12? And I roll it, it's a 12.
So our last 3 rolls in the game were 11, 11, 12. And here's Zachary hoping for a 7. I'm like, wow. It didn't help me either. I don't think I had anything on the 11 or 12. But, well, the 12, they helped because I did have the 6 So luckily
Yeah.
I was getting 2 points each time.
Yeah.
I think I had just, like, towards the end kind of passed you.
Yeah,
But then with those those rolls, you got ahead of me.
Because, then that got me like 4 or 5 points. And then I was able to, with my money I had remaining, buy a point card for like 6 points to almost get the comeback and win. But I lost 45-47 to Taylor. So it was a very odd but epic ending to that
because
game.
I think, did Zach end up with 6 or 7 points?
Yeah, he ended up with
that was not
under
good.
10.
I think he knew, though, like, going into the last few rounds that he was in trouble. Because I thought, like him, too, I'm like, okay, they've gotten these, 11 rolls early on in the game.
It's going to even
but
out.
It's gonna start coming back, and it just never did. It just constant high rolls.
That just happens with that game.
I know. Well, it happens when I don't. I typically go for the high 7. This was the one time I didn't, or one of the few times I didn't. And, of course, it all hits on that time. But
if you start rolling a number, especially an odd number like that, like even 2 times, it's almost a guarantee it's going to keep happening.
It seems like it always does in that game. I don't know why. But yeah, so that actually finished probably a little quicker than it normally would, I think.
A little bit, but it was pretty average to what we thought it would be.
Mm-hmm. So then I think, they were still playing Sagrada, but they were finishing up, I think.
We went up and we had tacos earlier in the day because nachos and tacos go together.
Right.
And then we had some burgers as well. So we went up and ate as they finished Sagrada, and then they finished. We came back down. We played Sagrada, and they played Space Base, which we
finished Sagrada pretty quickly.
We went pretty quick. Well, it feels like we had pretty good rolls for what we needed. Me especially.
It seemed like we all kind of did because the main goal every single one of us got.
Because you had to have different unique colors in each column, and
we all were able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And we all did pretty well on the other 2 as well, and our personal goals we all did well on.
Yeah.
And it really came down to us probably having the personal rolls that were just maybe slightly better than what they had.
Yeah.
Because we did the sum of a certain
area
of dice.
Those allowed us to get maybe like 10 more points than the other guys, and that was pretty much the difference. But yeah, we all played that very well. We were very lucky with our rolls.
Yeah. So since we played it so well, it went pretty fast. But so we were like, okay, well, where are they in Space Base? A few of them had not played Space Base before that were on the other table, so it was expected that they were going to have to teach it and learn it. I think we got done by about the time they were starting, like the first or second round of Space Base.
Yeah, because I know they were asking a few questions about certain cards here and there, which is fine. I mean, you're teaching the game, but I think we finished around the time they kind of got a few rounds in. Yeah.
And so we thought, okay, it'll be a little bit, but
so we were getting a little rest here and there, and then we go and check over there, like maybe like 10, 15 minutes later, and still like no one's over like 5 points. It's like, what's going on here?
I know, and then.
But those engines are going to start hitting.
Right, yeah. It was still early in the game. Like I said, it's kind of typically like an exponential growth towards the end. So sometimes it just takes a little bit to get going. And then it's probably another 15 minutes or so, 10 to 15 minutes. And we go over there and only like 1 or 2 of them is over 10 points. And then a few minutes after that, Steven got a card that allowed him to subtract points off of the other players if he got it activated. And it sounded like he pretty much activated that every single round. So I think at that point, maybe Abby or Michaela had kind of gotten up near 20-some points. So they were kind of getting around that point in the game where you really, pick out. I mean, it's usually a few more rounds, I think, once you get to 20, typically, unless, the rolls just aren't coming your way. But so I was like, okay, it's going to be over here soon. And then all of a sudden we go over... We're going over there like, I don't know how many minutes later it was. Maybe it wasn't this long. It felt like a long time. It probably wasn't that long. But probably another 5 minutes later we go over there. And I think some of them had less points than what they had bought on cards.
Yeah, I think one of them.
Because of Steven's power.
One of us, Michaela, I think she went back down to like below 10 points.
Yeah. So it was...
But yeah,
I think
it just...
Blake ended up getting a good enough engine that he could overcome that, but I think everyone else was pretty much... Abby might have ended up halfway decent.
Yeah,
but,
Abby ended up, I think, in the 30s. But
yeah, Blake and Steven, I think, were 1 point apart at the end.
But
the
yeah,
other ones were...
That card, that ability that he had, just... it brought everyone down, and maybe...
Probably was not the best game to sort of, in a way, end on, especially, or be towards the end of the day. Because, definitely, it was probably twice the length of a normal game of Space Base, at least.
For sure.
If not longer. Because we ended up playing... After a while, we decided...
Because we sat like 20, 30 minutes, maybe more, and we were like, okay, you want to play a game? So then we played Project L, finished that game, and then, I don't know, had Zachary even played that yet? So we taught it, and then played it, and then finished it, and then we caught the end of their
what
game.
they were doing.
But yeah, I've never seen a game of Space Base go like that. So I'm happy that I was able to see that, or from afar.
Right.
I don't know if I want to be in it, but
I would say that did not end up exactly how I was hoping the Space Base would end up. But
yeah, I mean,
that's just the way it goes.
They seem to like it. I mean. Obviously, taking away your points may not be the funnest thing, but I think Blake liked the game. He said that, and I'm like, it's not usually like that.
No.
But yeah, it still sounded like a fun time.
So then after that was the 9th game, and then we played Railroad Inc. with everyone because Taylor had a couple sets of that, and we had a set, so we had enough boards to play a 9-person game of that. And that went pretty quickly, which was what I had hoped for and expected, especially after how long that Space Base had taken. I was kind of like, do we even do it? But it was, at that point, it was kind of between me and Zachary as to who was going to win. There was a chance for, I think, you, Blake, and Taylor, depending on how things shook out, but kind of needed a few things to go your guys' way. But pretty much between me and Zach, I think kind of if one won it and the other one didn't come in like second, they would probably win it. Something like that.
But so we played that. I think Blake won that game.
I think he did. Yeah. So he won that one too.
So that was good for him, and I think
that was the first time he played.
Yeah. He won quite a few games.
Yeah. Sure.
So yeah, that did secure him the 3rd place. Zachary did get the 2nd place, and you came away in 1st place to become a two-time
champion. And I'm hoping to make it a 3-peat next year.
If anyone will show up.
Right. But no, I thought the whole day went pretty well.
It went pretty well, and something for Dice Baby that we added last minute, less than, like, what was it?
Probably 10 to 12
hours before we started. We were still figuring out the groups, what games we were going to play, and possible bonus points with dice, which we ended up saying pretty much after every game, everyone gets to roll a die 3 times, and if they roll 3 odds or 3 evens, then they get an extra point.
So just a little fun mini game.
Which I think went over pretty well. I think a lot of people like that.
Right. And I think that's, since the first one doesn't really matter, since it could be even or odd, you don't have to call it. It was pretty much a 25% chance.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, our whole total, everyone's rolls,
I think it was
at
like
about 21%. So it was a little under what we had expected. I think it might have just been me and maybe one other person that got 3 out of the 10 times.
I think I got 2, but yeah. It definitely was a great thing. So even if you're not winning a game, it's just like I get to roll those dice after.
Right, get a chance at some extra points. But so I thought those all went pretty well. And then also as some prizes, first I'd gotten some board games, so Roll for the Galaxy, and then Blue Lagoon.
And Floor Plan.
Along with the Meeple Trophy that I've gotten the other 2 years. The last 2 years I've gotten gold. But this year, since I was hoping to win, I noticed that there were like 30 different colors you could choose from. So I figured I'd see kind of what it would look like on another color. So I think from now on I'm just going to try to pick a new color every year and kind of see see what it turns out.
Grow your collection.
Yeah, grow my collection. No, I don't think I'll be able to do it next year. But yeah, and then also even probably more awesome than these. Taylor had brought these cool coasters. He told me he was going to bring something. I didn't know what it was going to be, and they were board game tournament dice baby Nacho average 2021 coasters, which were probably more awesome than all the other things. And I'm just glad that I was able to get them because he was giving them to the people that got the highest score for every game. So I was able to get one.
Yeah, I was able to get one as well because he had a box. He's like, "Oh, these are for highest score." I'm like, "What's in there? I want to go peek in there while everyone's up eating." But I was able to resist the urge, and I was able to get a high score. And when he started handing those out, I'm like, "Oh my god, those look cool."
Yeah, they're totally awesome.
Those are nice.
I hope that he brings some more next year.
Nice baby.
They are nice baby. But
what
do you think? Were there any games that you thought were really great for a dice tournament or a dice? If you were getting a family gathering of people that may not play a ton of board games, like I think it's a good. I think we can kind of see it at least from Blake, since he hadn't really played many board games. Kind of seeing how well he was able to play some of the games or how long it took to learn some of them. Were there any that you thought would be great for a tournament like that, where it's trying to be quick with them and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think we picked a good batch of games. I think Sushi Roll is a great quick game. Dungeon Academy is a little different with the timed aspect, which I know some people had a harder time with that, which I could see that rubbing some people the wrong way. But yeah, Era can go pretty quickly. It's pretty easy to follow. Sagrada, everything seemed graspable. So I think you could pretty much pick any handful of these games, and those could work.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think the only thing would
Space
just be
Space would be, or not Space Space. Stone Age would probably be the toughest one, and even that I think makes sense with kind of going to this place, getting those resources.
Yeah, I would think if I were to have to take any of them out, it would probably be Stone Age, and then maybe Space Base. Just because there's some cards in Space Base that are a little harder to understand. But other than that, I thought they were all pretty good. So, what do you think for next year?
Next year, what theme do we want next year? I know you've kind of thought it's probably going to be either cards or meeples. Have you settled on one of those?
I don't think so. But if you leave a comment below, you can let us know what you think would be the best category of games. Do you think cards? Do you think meeples? Do you think tile placement? Do you think something else?
Polyomino. Drafting. There are a lot of things to explore, and I'm looking forward to it for sure. Trying to get my second meeple,
and I'm trying to go for the three-peat, but we will have to see what happens. But otherwise, it was a great day. I really had a good time. I hope everyone else enjoyed it, and I think that's everything.
Yeah. We will hopefully recap the next year's tournament or something else if we have another event that we hold. But other than that, as always, don't forget to
keep on nibbling.